I'd like to welcome everyone to the City of Hermantown Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for June 29th. It's currently 7:01. We'll go ahead and start with the roll call of this evening's members. Joe Peterson, not here. Corey Colquist, here. Valerie Olette, here. Samuel Clark,
here.
Beth Winslow is not here. Buckley Simmons,
Here.
Dante Tomasoni,
Here.
Counselor Geisler. Perfect. Number two, this evening is an approval of the agenda for June 21st. Can I get a motion on that, please?
Tomasoni so moves.
All right, Tomasoni. So I don't need a second with that, correct? All right. Can I get a second?
Simmons with a second.
Simmons with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to item number 3. This evening, an approval of the minutes from the May 27th, I believe, May 27th, regular meeting minutes. Can I get a motion on that, please?
Sam Clark, I just have one comment on the meeting minutes. Page 4, it says, I stated I was not impressed with the community response to the initial Carlson Road option. That is not, I was impressed with the response. I think it was a good community response, and I think the Hammerhead is a good compromise. So just a small clarification, but I was not.
Strike the not. He was impressed with the community response.
Yep, and I feel like the Hammerhead is a good compromise. So basically just the not impressed.
Okay.
Is that. So I would make a motion to approve with that correction.
That amendment.
All right. Counselor Clark with the first. Can I get a second?
Tomasoni second.
Tomasoni with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Number 4 this evening is a public discussion. Not seeing anyone here. We'll move on. Item number 5, public hearing. Oh, anyone online?
I heard a no from the back.
No. Oh, no. Okay. Perfect. So we'll move on to number 5 this evening, public hearings. All right. So number 5A is a public, an application by Paul Fitzgerald for a special use permit and a variance for the construction of a 2,400 square foot garage to be located 5243 Hermantown Road. The property is located in R3 residential zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us tonight on this?
Great, thank you. And I believe you all have your packets in front of us, so I don't think we need to have Joe on the overhead here. But this property, once again, located at 5243 Hermantown Road. This is comprised of 2 separate parcels. It's a large acreage parcel, 16.5 acres total. The applicant is and already has pursued the combining of these 2 parcels into one single one. What the applicant is proposing is a construction of a 40 by 60 foot accessory building with 14-foot sidewalls. The building is proposed to be approximately 90 feet from Hermantown Road. There is a site plan in your package which shows that approximate location. To the north of that would be essentially the driveway associated with that. The garage doors would face towards the north and that driveway. The existing location fits within an existing, the proposed location fits within an existing open area on the property. You can see on that site plan, there is a large wetland complex located to the north of that. That is the rationale why the applicant is not moving this building further to the north, basically to preserve those wetlands, and hence the need for a variance. When accessory structures in the R3 district has a front yard requirement of meeting the existing homes setback. So in this case, that existing home is approximately 220 feet back. You see if that accessory structure was in line with that, essentially would put it right in the heart of that wetland area. So where they're locating it, it stays out of that wetland area. As part of it, the applicant would use the existing driveway coming off of Hermantown Road, and then have a little driveway stub located about 120 feet up into his property, that would get to the driveway and these particular building here. He's not looking for any additional access off of Hermantown Road. And he's indicated that he's going to be keeping the vast majority of those existing trees in place there as well. There is another essentially large accessory structure located on the south side of Hermantown Road. That one's approximately, I believe it's about 3,300 square feet. So this is something that is at least common in this area here. The nearest residential structure from this proposed building is approximately 300 feet away. This structure would be used for personal storage only. There'd be no building activities allowed for that. That concludes my presentation at this point, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that members of the commissions might have.
Thank you very much, Eric. Does anyone on the committee have any questions for Eric?
No questions.
Okay, not hearing any.
I have one quick question. Can you explain the pink property line versus, so how about the pie-shaped piece in between the property line and the Hermantown Road? Is that somebody else?
That is somebody else's property. It's very strange how it basically it's one of our few roads in the city that curves, and the property lines are almost set up from the grid. So that was the rationale as well. There's two rationales for combining these properties. There's one, you can't have an accessory structure located on its own lot. And then secondly, by combining them, he'd be able to utilize his existing driveway that he has with that access onto Hermantown Road to get to this structure.
And then I heard you say that the accessory structure should be located, equally back with the house, but we can't do that. But what would this front yard setback here be?
Well, traditionally with this a residential structure, it's 50 feet.
Okay.
So this is greater than what we would have as a primary structure in the R3 district.
That's what I was just looking for. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
So Eric, I do have a question. There is no access to Hermantown Road other than going back to his driveway that he currently has?
That is correct. He would use his existing driveway that he has.
Okay.
So the way that, as Councilor Geiser said, that there's this pie-shaped lot
Okay.
that's in front of it. So it's the right of way. If you look in the aerial, you can see almost like a grass that had been used once upon a time, almost like a grass driveway.
Okay.
That for the most part is on this applicant's property, but it appears that he had to go through somebody else's property in the past to get there. So this way, by just accessing it from his existing driveway, he's not impeding or going onto someone else's property to get to this one.
Thank you. It just looked like there was a dirt driveway going.
Exactly. That's what you're picking up in the aerial there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Commission members, any other questions? Not hearing any, we'll open the floor for public discussion at 7:09. I do see that there's one person in the waiting room now or in our chat. If you have any questions, certainly state your name and address and you can go ahead and speak. All right, we'll go ahead and close the public discussion at 7:09 as well. Commission members, any other thoughts or questions here? All right, can I get a motion on agenda item 5A?
Go ahead.
Sam Clark with a motion to approve agenda item 5A as stated.
Okay, Commissioner Clark with first. Can I get a second?
Let second.
Let's second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Agenda item 5B tonight, an application by JLG Enterprises for rezoning of 40-acre parcel located in the rear of formerly addressed 3956 Stebner Road and is associated with the Payneton Acres development. The parcel is currently zoned Hermantown Marketplace with a proposed rezoning to R3 residential. Eric, what do you have for us on this one tonight?
Great, thank you. And I'm going to ask Mr. Wickland and back if possible to call up the staff report since we do have somebody in Zoom. So they can see the different graphics that the commission members have. If you could work on that when you have a chance. And just I actually rolled on probably about 3 and then we'll get to this particular one. So as actually, I'm sorry, Joe. Go down one more. Perfect, thank you. So, like I said, now anybody who's on Zoom will be able to see this here as well. JLG Enterprises has been working on this overall almost 70-acre property over the last couple of years here. So the first front of the or western portion of the property per se had an existing zoning of R3. Obviously, that allows for single-family construction, which they have been pursuing to date. Now, as they're moving into these new phases associated with the Payneton Acres property, they are now moving into this 40-acre land that is zoned HM, Hermantown Marketplace, as well as the land that's further to the east there, almost all the way to Haynes. As part of the Hermantown Marketplace zoning, it does not allow single-family homes. That was envisioned as multifamily structures, apartments, etc. The thought being that we didn't want to have a single-family home placed next to Fleet Farm. It just didn't make sense from a essentially land use standpoint. The Gilberts have been having extreme good fortune with the development and sales of lots in this development. And they've indicated that they want to keep moving with that single-family residential concept as they have been doing to date here. So in order to accomplish that, we're looking at a rezoning of this 40 acres from the Hermantown Marketplace to R3 zoning. And that would allow the JLG and the Gilberts to continue with their single-family housing development as they move to the east. Staff had discussed initially, did we want to revise the HM, the Hermantown Marketplace zoning to allow single-family homes? We said no, because that would potentially create some conflicts, as I stated earlier, that you just don't want a single-family home next to a 3-story building. So we discussed this with the Gilberts, and they thought this was the best option going forward as well, is the rezoning of this particular 40-acre parcel so they can continue with the single-family homes.
All right. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Does anyone on the committee have any questions for Eric?
Eric, do you know what size the lots are going to be?
There are, actually, the next thing is going to be the plat for this.
Oh.
So they are a minimum of a ½ acre. To date, the lots are approaching more like 3/4 acres. They're fairly large lots under the phase 1A and 1B. And it was said that the next item will be a plat, but we needed to look into the zoning first before we looked at a single family development. So.
Eric, I just, excuse me, just had one kind of clarification. Taking this site and then the site just to the east, it's a small portion of it is Hermantown Marketplace, and looks like there's a stream or wetlands that go through there.
Joe, could you go one slide up, please? Yes, that is that property right there. So what you're seeing is the green. That's Keene Creek that runs through that adjacent property. And what's shown as green, that's actually a shoreland overlay area. So,
Yep. So that small, basically the 40 acres next to, just to the east, would it make sense at all to rezone that to R3 as well if you're doing this, just to keep the marketplace consistent, and then the R3 would all basically be consistent? I'm not sure what's there, who owns it, or what that process would be, but that was my only comment.
Sure, exactly. That's part of a 110 acre parcel. It's made up of, I think, 3 or maybe 4 particular parcels. It's owned by Northwoods Property. They have that property on the market. Since there's an unknown use for that we prefer to keep the zoning as is. And if and when that property eventually sells, if someone comes forward thinking that R3 is the best use of that, we'd probably entertain a rezoning at that point. But right now, given the ability to market that property to the fullest extent, that at least that applicant wants to keep it under the HM zoning. Okay.
And just going on with that, because the property around this site that we're looking at is R3, this wouldn't be considered spot zoning then, right?
No, that is correct. Exactly. There's existing residential zoning on at least 2 sides of this. And the green that you see above it, that is Stebner Park.
Right.
And Eric, wasn't this before Hermantown Marketplace, wasn't this R3 before?
Yeah, exactly. There's portions of R3. There was some commercial remnants in there as well, but for the most part, this was R3 as well. And that happened, I want to say back in 14, I believe, is when we had created the marketplace.
Do any other commission members have any comments?
Just one more. Is there any potential for commercial buildings to be built on that being as part of marketplace if we did not rezone it?
Yeah, right now, the Hermantown Marketplace, once again, you could build, I think the height restrictions under here are 45 foot. You could build a small apartment building. Once again, you could build a business, a commercial business, things like that. So honestly, with the rezoning of this to R3, it's more in keeping with the surroundings that exist today.
Okay.
So it seems, from at least a zoning standpoint, it meets those, similar zonings around it.
Yeah, and I can see being adjacent to Stebner Park would be really advantageous for real estate or for residential homes. I could see that.
Anything else? All right, not hearing anything. We will open the floor for public discussion at 7:17. If anyone who's on Zoom is here to speak, please state your name and address for the record. All right, we'll go ahead and close that at 7:18. Commission members, any other last thoughts?
No.
All right, can I please get a motion on agenda item 5B?
Simmons with a motion to approve 5B as stated.
Simmons with the first. Can I get a second?
Thomasoni second.
Thomasoni second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 5C, an application by JLG Enterprise for a preliminary and final plot for an 8-lot and 2 outlot subdivision located at the formerly addressed 3956 Stebner Road. The property is located in R3 zoning district. Eric, what do you have for us on this one?
Great, thank you. This is a continuation of the Payneton Acres project. Previously, phases 1A and 1B had come to the Planning Commission and City Council and had received approvals. To date, the applicant has constructed most of the infrastructure with phase 1A and is moving into the phase 1B now as well. They do have plat approval for that. They're just in the process of, we'll be finalizing that plat here shortly. So this is the next phase of this development. As I had mentioned previously, JLG has been seeing at least some very good interest in the purchase of single-family lots. And it worked out well that this next phase could come online for two things. Is A, they're already working on the infrastructure, and this is essentially the extent of the sanitary sewer that can serve this area. As you move further to the east after this phase, you run into a gravity issue that the topography wants to flow more towards the south and the east. So this is essentially the last phase coming off of Stebner at this point. As we had mentioned, this is an 8-lot subdivision. The lots are a minimum of a ½ acre in size. Mr. Wickland, if you could put up the plat associated with that, that'd be great. There's 2 outlots associated with this. The small outlot A, that's where the stormwater pond would be created for this particular development here to handle the impervious surface created by the roadways. Outlot B is that remainder of the site that way. Actually, this is a good drawing in front of us because if you see that bold line associated with outlot B, if you just look on the left side of your page and you can see that lighter line, that's that 40 acres. And that's at least that other piece of that 40 acres that we just spoke about. So this particular phase is half in and half out of that R3 and the HM. So by going to the full R3 zoning, it allows for this single family to continue that way. The utilities are in the public right of way associated with Payton Drive. Those will be continued to be extended towards the east to be able to serve this particular cul-de-sac here. Future utilities will then actually be coming from the Bishop Woods addition down there in the southeast corner. And that would handle future phases of this within Outlot B. There is an interior sidewalk system with the two previous phases that will continue as well to provide that pedestrian connectivity to Stebner Road and eventually throughout the whole development also. And as I mentioned previously, these lots are all a minimum of 1/2 acre in size. Basically, at least half of these are greater than that. To date, once again, they've been creating almost 3/4 acre lots associated with that, and been really trying to work around the existing topography and some of the mature trees that they've been seeing from the development standpoint. With that, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Eric. Commission members, any questions?
Eric, this plat is just for these 8 lots,
That is correct, yes.
but this doesn't quite marry up with what we have in the packet.
You're looking at the master plan, I believe?
Yeah. And I just, I see the 1A, 1B, and then this looks like it might be what it's phase 2 or phase.
That they're calling phase 4, and that's what, when this was originally envisioned, they were thinking about, once again, that sanitary sewer that I had spoke to, that they could only get 1A and 1B under the sanitary from Stebner,
Yeah.
and they'd have to go on to phase 2 to grab it from there. But as it turns out, they do have a little bit more fall, and so they essentially flip-flopped
Okay.
the 2 and the 4 that way. So their next phase after this will have to be coming basically off that phase 2. And honestly, too, that's one of the rationales why they're calling this 1A, 1B, 1C.
Yeah.
So,
So this, they just keep developing the flats, the pieces as they move along.
pieces as they move along, that gives them a little less exposure from a financial standpoint. They do have financial sureties in place, at least to, as far as phase 1A. How it works out is with a development agreement for each one of these phases that provides the option of one of 2 things. If they want to have the city sign off on the plat, they have to provide a letter of credit for all infrastructure, stormwater, as well as paving, et cetera. If they prefer to start development of the utilities first and not finalize the plat, the only thing they have to require is a letter of credit for the stormwater. So that's how they've started each one of these, and the same thing, that's something that the city has changed to help out developers not carry excessively large letters of credits as they move forward.
What's the requirement for the road paving? Getting the road paved.
As far as a timeline or
Yeah.
for,
Timeline.
so it'll be, it's one of 2 things. There's not a specific timeline. I can't give you a specific date. However, if they want to finalize this plat, actually give us the Mylars for the city to sign, they either have to A, pave it, or B, provide the letter of credit for it. So there are mechanisms in place before the city will sign
When
off.
we work with them in their other developments, we've always put the road has to be paved by X date.
X number of dates that way.
Oh, yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
when the development agreement, that's what we will tie down those dates.
Okay.
I believe, I've been just working on the development agreement. I think I have a date of October 23 for
Have it paved.
to have that paved, exactly. The development agreement actually goes straight to city council, and I anticipate that you'll see that on July 17th.
Eric, for clarification, because it doesn't look like it's right in the package, did you say phase 4 would be phase 1C?
Yes, that is correct. If you're looking at the master plan.
It's not exactly the same, no.
No, it's the same idea that this is the 3rd cul-de-sac associated with the development that way. So for that part, they've been generally mirroring the master plan that had been envisioned. I think this is from 18 or 19, to tell you the truth.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, what happens with the Outlot A? You mentioned that's where their stormwater pond's gonna go.
Yep.
Do they forfeit that, turn it over to the city, or
Yep,
how does that
they turn
happen?
it over to the city for our ownership. Back in phase 1A, if you ever go through that development, as you enter Payton Drive, there's a stormwater pond on the northern portion. They did turn that over to the city within the last couple months here. So the city is now becomes the owner of those outlots and is responsible for the maintenance of those ponds. We found in the single family developments that works out much better because rather than going in and assessing 50 different property owners, it's easier just to take ownership now. I kind of view it as buying a new car versus a used is when we get the stormwater ponds right at the beginning, we know that's the best condition. In the past, we've received some of these stormwater ponds much later down the road, and the city immediately has to go in and do quite a bit of work to get the silt out of there, et cetera. So we prefer to get the ownership of these ponds at the very beginning, and then we can control the maintenance from there.
Okay. And then with Outlaw B, how many more times can they just keep coming back and?
Yep,
adding
and
more?
that's why that is, Mr. Geisler had referenced the plat here, that's the plat, the master plan is that basically it provides kind of a roadmap of these future phases and development associated with it. So we knew that for the master plan, there'd be connection on Stebner, there'd be connection down there on Oak Ridge Drive to the in the southeast corner there, and then essentially that looping road attached to it. So as Mr. Geisler had talked about as well, this method of platting smaller pieces has been more the preference of developers because once again, you don't expose yourself by bringing 20 or 30 lots to market and hence creating the infrastructure associated with that. In the past, we've done a couple of developments back on, say, in 07, 08 that did that, essentially developed the whole thing. There's an economic downturn and the developer is on the hook for hundreds of thousands of dollars in infrastructure costs. This way that once again, the developer can control their infrastructure costs a bit more and then have more of an orderly progression throughout the development.
Thank you. Commission members, any other questions for Eric? Not hearing any, we will open the floor to public discussion at 7:28. Is anyone on Zoom that would like to speak on this? Once again, if you'd state your name and the address for a record. Not hearing any comments, we'll go ahead and close the public discussion at 7:29. Commission members, any other thoughts? Can I get a motion, or can I please get a motion on agenda item 5C?
Paulette, I would move to approve agenda item 5C as written.
Alette with the first, can I get a second?
Sam Clark with the second.
Sam Clark with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to number 6, continuing business. Anything for us there, Eric?
Not a continuing business, no.
All right. Number 7, new business.
Just more of an update. The city at last night's city council meeting, and I apologize if Mr. Geisler is going to add this. City council did approve HKGI, Hoisington Kogler, out of the Twin Cities for a comprehensive master plan. They anticipate starting that probably within the next couple of weeks here. Part of that will be basically a task force, for lack of better words, made up of different city residents as well as members of boards and planning commissions and city council that way. Staff right now is starting to look into that. We anticipate probably anywhere from 8 to 12 people on this guiding board that way as part of the process. That does not include any staff members associated with it. So I can see in the next couple of weeks that the planning commission, or the city staff, would be looking for 1, maybe 2 representatives off planning and zoning to be part of that task force or that guiding board that way. So if you have any interest, please feel free to maybe to shoot me an email or a call, and I can chat further with you that way.
There will be plenty of other public meetings as well.
Yes, there will be.
For public input and just discussion on putting together a comprehensive plan.
What do they figure the time commitment for that will be?
Looking back, I want to say there's at least 6 potential of these task force meetings that way. The whole process is over the course of about 18 months. And it's a little bit more front driven as far as some of these meetings. And then after that, you maybe fall into more of a quarterly type of aspect that way.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Item number 8, communications.
There's none.
All right. Item number 9, commission member reports. Myself, no report. Valerie Roulette,
No report.
Samuel Clark.
I don't, this isn't really a report, but I was talking to John. I was on the city council meeting yesterday, John Geisler, and I was even kind of confused at one point on what the city council and the public were discussing in terms of the Zierden development and the Carlson Road. So maybe just when it comes back to planning and zoning, or just in the future, just explicitly stating what the city's recommending and what the public is reviewing. Because I think it was kind of a combination of what we first looked at, what we looked at the Planning and Zoning Commission with the trail addition to Johnson Road, and work going to towards Morris Thomas, and just Carlson Road trail. So just my 2 cents sitting on the iPad watching on Zoom. So.
All right. Thank you. Buckley Simmons,
No report.
Dante Thomasoni,
No report.
and Counselor Geisler.
I'll just add a little bit. What Sam was talking about was the Zierden development that we had in front of us I guess it was last month with the Hammerhead. And so this body, you guys passed the Hammerhead with no trail, not paving, or not paving the trail to Johnson, or not building up the gravel base for the rest of it, as was discussed. The council looked at it like there should be some public benefit for this PUD. Remember all of the work we did on the PUD, and part of that is the public benefit. Jay Zierden thinks the public benefit is the city's getting this 16 acres or whatever it is in the land swap that we can put the trail on. To us, the city council, it wasn't really all that much of a benefit. He's getting several buildable lots with the land swap that he can sell for, quite a bit of money. So the city council put a covenant on it, or asked for him, or told him to get approval. For approval, we were going to want him to build the trail just from the Hammerhead to the Johnson Road, paved gate, so that it would suffice as pedestrian access and as that secondary emergency egress. There were several members of the neighborhood there, and they didn't really think it was necessary, but I think they just don't want people coming down their road. And then Jay got up and said the same thing he told this body was, I shouldn't have to build it for a lot of reasons. And, there was talk about grants and whatnot, but, if there's ever a grant awarded, it would pay for the trunk of this trail, but not what this little spur would be. So the city council voted to impose on the developer to build that stretch of trail from the Hammerhead to the Johnson Road. And Eric, you had $80,000 or $90,000 was the estimate for that. So it's not, he said it's going to put them out. It's not going to make the project viable, but I think otherwise, and I think he'll hopefully continue and proceed along that line. So, but that was the council's rationale. We had one councilor missing last night. The vote was 3-1. The mayor did not. He didn't want the development. He was frustrated with the whole thing, and he said he was going to vote against it no matter what. So, 3 other councilors voted for it, and the mayor voted it down. So anyway, so now it's back in his court. That was just the preliminary plat, and so he has to come back and do the final plat. So we'll see what he wants to do. So
Could you just refresh my memory? How How long is that? How many feet or are we talking from Johnson Road to the end?
It's approximately 350 feet.
Football field.
That's significant.
But remember, he was gonna clear it and grub it and needed to put his, was it water?
Water.
Water. He was putting a water line down it anyway, so there's significant amount of costs already incurred by him doing that, clearing, grubbing, excavating. He has to backfill that with good granular material. So the added cost is really the paved trail and the gate, so. That's, I think that's all for me.
All right, perfect. All right. Lastly, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Simmons with a motion to adjourn.
Simmons with the first. Can I get a second?
Thomas only second.
Thomas only second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, guys.